$3.8 million. This is a bit more detailed as far as how the fund balance is laid out for us. We started the fiscal year on the unrestricted side with a $50.1 million ending fund balance, ended the year at 50.7. You can see both the increase or decrease on the restricted and unrestricted sides, and then also the components of the fund balance on both sides of the unrestricted and restricted fund balance, as you can see in front of you. There was a request a few months ago, I believe, by Mr. Navarro regarding the administrative building finance plan relevant to how our redevelopment agency revenues are materializing and if we were on track. And so what we wanted to do is bring back to the board just a snapshot of how that looks and how we ended the fiscal year for 2011-12. This is probably a slide that you probably will recall. This was brought to the board, I believe, in April of 2011. No changes here. Purchase price of the Breyer building of $6.9 million. Tenant improvements of $1.5 million. Total capital outlay cost of $8.4. And the funding sources that were considered during the purchase of the actual building were redevelopment agency funds as well as deferred maintenance funds. Now again, at the time, I believe it was explained to you that because of some of the concerns regarding RDA at the time, that there would be the potential for utilizing deferred maintenance for the entire purchase of the facility was going to be an action that the organization was going to take. So we do have obviously an internal finance plan that we'll talk about in the next slide. In addition to that, RDA has paid for $3 million of the building itself, and the remaining funds that are backfilling deferred maintenance are coming from RDA proceeds over the next 9 years. So here is our deferred maintenance reimbursement plan. And again, the proposed plan, I believe, is what you saw in April of 2011. And as you can see, on the right side, we revised the plan a bit. And the reason for that is we've had a modest uptick in the RDA revenues that we brought in over what we budgeted or anticipated for the 11-12 fiscal year. And so we saw it as an opportunity to also increase our payment in the first year, although not necessarily revising the remainder of the schedule. We want to be conservative with respect to those revenue streams as they come in, because as you know, RDAs are still in a state of uncertainty and flux as far as the revenue stream is concerned. So we will probably be looking at this on an annual basis is what we'll do. And of course, bring you updated information as it comes along. But essentially what occurred is we've increased the first year payment by $52,000. And so that is directly coming off of the 9th and final payment. So we anticipate if this trend continues, that there is a strong likelihood that we won't need to make the 9th payment potentially in the 9th out year. And hopefully it might even be sooner than that. But again, this is a very conservative look, and we're making sure that we still are focusing in on the same repayment to deferred maintenance when it's all said and done. Yes, Mr. Navarro.
Okay, let me just see if I understand this. On the previous slide, we've actually paid the whole $8.4 million, right?
Yes.
That's paid for. Now we're repaying the deferred maintenance fund, the 5.4, with the revenue that we're getting every year from RDA.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. And now on the next slide, I understand that this is the amount we are paying. What is the revenue that we are getting each year? Is it the exact right to the dollar?
No, Mr. Navarro. There's this year.
I'm looking at year one.
Okay, so
how
year
much
one.
revenue did we get?
So year one is the year ended June 30th, 2012.
Okay.
So our total receipts for redevelopment agency activity is just under $1.5 million.
For the year?
Correct.
Oh, okay. So we only used a third of it.
Correct.
We paid the loan that we took, and we still have $1 million left over.
Yes.
In that fund for deferred maintenance.
Correct. Well, I'm sorry.
Let's go back again. How much money did we get from RDA the first year in revenue? Year
11,
1.
12.
Yeah.
We received in revenues just under $1.5 million.
Okay. So of that, we used actually, I'm trying to see, if we got the 1.5, and that normally would go in the deferred maintenance account, right? No.
That'll remain in a locally restricted account.
Oh,
Mr.
more a
Hall.
separate account, okay.
Yeah, and the purpose of that is that, we're a part of the school facilities program.
Okay.
And so the state will be looking at the amount of redevelopment money that comes into the organization, so we may have to leverage that against some of our projects that they'll fund us for. And it may be, depending on the project agreement, it may be specifically for just.
So that's a
this project.
separate account from the deferred maintenance?
Correct.
And that's for facilities
Yes.
purchase or?
Yes.
Or upgrade, okay.
Yes.
Where deferred maintenance is like a new roof or repairs and things like that.
Repairs to existing.
Okay, so now I got it. So the 135,000 went into the deferred maintenance account, repaying the 5.4 million. All right, thank you. This is
And you hope the governor doesn't get his hands on it.
It's already over.
Exactly, they've already went, they tried to, but I think some of the things that they're really concerned with is that from a legal standpoint, these are obligations where these projects have bond indebtedness, so we've continued with this revenue.
We hope, I mean, hope brings eternal.
Yeah, I think just go back to that. What we can't do here, because this is a good point, Mr. Barrows, we put down amount paid, we can, for next time, we can put another column, say total RDA money received, so you can see the portion of this. We're very conservative, we just look at the project areas that we want to support the broader financing plan with. The other thing I'll note is that this is the amount that's paid back into deferred maintenance, but it's not the only amount of deferred maintenance. We still included the full match that we put in from the general fund into deferred maintenance. So deferred maintenance fund is very healthy, we feel, able to meet our obligations to take care of our facilities throughout the county.
How many years do you project we have redevelopment money coming in? How many years out are we on that?
Well, as far as the revenue stream, Ms. Harrison, it could go long past what the governor is assuming. The final date of RDA activity is supposed to be 2018. But
We have obligations out there 20 years, don't we?
absolutely. I mean, I sit on a board and we have obligations that are upwards of 2040.
That's right, yeah, okay.
So I think therein lies the rub that it's not in accordance with what the governor is trying to do at this point.
And basically, with the governor, the oversight agencies, accessories, they have 5 years to settle all the ROPS requirements, the obligations. Once that's done, then there's going to be one success agency for all the project areas. And that success agency will determine the amount of pass-through that goes to the entitled agency. And that could go on for 20, 30 years. It depends upon what's already been indebted.
That's right. And we're watching that very carefully.
Absolutely.
I thought they only had 2 years.
That's fine.
It's 5 years?
5 years.
One last question.
Yes, Mr. Noel.
Was the amount paid back, was that just arbitrary on our part? Did you actually have to pay more back each year?
Well, the amount that was originally proposed was looking at, we worked with a consultant, our consultant that assisted us in looking at all the revenue streams. We have upwards of, I want to say, 100 projects, Chris? Project areas.
But it's 1.5 million for this last year.
1.5 million throughout the county, yes.
So I'm just wondering why we chose that figure, 535, not 1 million or 700?
We initially looked at the 535 because we wanted to utilize the revenues, being the most conservative manner, utilize the revenue from project areas that we knew were going to have any concern in the state contributes to our facility program we have in the state. So if we have a project that we're planning to build, the state's going to look at what's your match from RDA funds to support that project, and it could come from the 1.5. So we wanted to protect those areas and just use the areas that we knew were clear with no projects being.
What I was looking at is getting that paid before the government does take away any RDA money. That was what I was looking at. But that's not, we don't have to worry about that.
Well, I mean, it would be, I think there would be probably a conversation to be had about that, Mr. Navarro, because really it's, I mean, we could take that risk potentially.
And we are taking that risk, right? Because we're
Not
going to pay out
necessarily.
in 9 years.
We're not, that's what we're
No,
not
we're
doing.
not, and like Mr. Alejandro mentioned, I think if we were to do something like that, to pay it back quicker with revenues that are potentially on the hook against our school facilities hardship program funds, then we may jeopardize the funds that are being given to us.
So this amount is safe, but we went further, then it may be a problem.
Yes, potentially, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So again, as I mentioned earlier, this is an average daily attendance, 2-year comparative, looking at years 10, 11, 11, 12, what we originally estimated, and then 11, 12. You see some positives and some negatives, of course, and they obviously impact our revenue streams for court school programs, juvenile court school, community day, as well as special ed. And then what we always are very cautious about or conscientious about is the other purpose countywide ADA. Looks like there's an uptick right there, just under 3,000 students, and this is countywide that we benefit from. So you know, there's a bit of an uptick there that's helpful for us moving forward. As far as our next steps are concerned, we will submit the standardized account code structure, the document that wraps up all of our unaudited actuals from an accounting side. That's a document that goes to the state Department of Education by October 15th. And then at that point, we will, again, as Mr. Alejandro mentioned, we'll be working with the auditors to certify the numbers that have been presented in front of you, with the final report due we'll report back in January. But for budgeting purposes, we'll continue to monitor and assess changes that the state budget may put in front of us. And we'll be looking at that November election period as well. Financial reports will continue to be provided up until our first interim period, and we expect to bring that to the board back in December. If there are no further questions, that is all.
Yeah, on the slide before that, how do we account for the major discrepancy in some of those estimates?
As far as the discrepancy, Ms. Harrison, I mean, what happens is, you know, these figures are coming from the February time period, and so there is a lot of movement because of the nature of our programs, you know, special ed, referral based. I mean, it's just something that occurs. We use trend data for our estimated figures, and again, we can't certify those until we get the annual reports coming in July. You know, the P2 certification.
What's the third one down, community schools?
Okay. Oh yes, I actually have, there is an issue, not an issue, but the issue that you see in front of you as far as the deviation, community schools and county community schools, you'll see an uptick of about 38 students on the lower line right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is dealing with our independent school population. So now the state is requiring us to report those on a different line. As far as, you know, independent school students are concerned, so it's now reflected down here as opposed to up on top on the high community school.
Well, we must have thought we were going to do quite a bit of business if we went from 39 to 52 as an estimate.
I'm not following you.
Look at the third line.
I see.
The annual is 39. That's a real number.
Correct.
The first column. Second column is an estimate. And we really jumped the number to 52.
Well, again, as I mentioned,
You did that in February, and we didn't know what
Correct.
Right. But then the actual only turned out to be 8.
For
Yeah.
the requirement of those students is now reflected below Ms. Harrison.
But all the numbers are lower, except for the county community school, because of the county community school,
Correct.
which is only 3 more than what was the actual the year before. That's all right. No, I understand, but I mean, I find that interesting.
His estimate was off.
Yeah, just a bit.
Well, I'll take credit for it.
But you don't have, that's not your problem. Yeah.
I understand.
So I will take is how many students is 4, 12, 5, 19, 21 represents? Is that 412,000?
Correct. That is all of the district ADA, as well as, you know, serving the entire county office, the entire San Bernardino County, Mr. Navarro.
And for some reason, I'm trying to add up.
This is not a total, Mr. Navarro. This is a separate line right here. These are county-operated programs up above
That's what's
that.
confusing.
This is
I'm just
a-
trying to reconcile.
Yes.
Countywide ADA. Right?
Correct.
412.
So what I was trying to do, and I think what Betty was trying to look at too, I was trying to see, what is the number of students off? So if we gotta look from 2139 to 2189, correct? Is that, or no? Is there a subtotal for each? There is.
There is.
So I gotta figure out myself with a calculator, how many students that we either increase or decrease, is that correct?
Well, it's up there, you can look at it there.
Well, you gotta look at each individual
Looking
one.
at each individual
Then I gotta add them
size.
up to a calculator. I just thought there would be a subtotal there that would make sense.
Well, there are different categories.
We've presented that in the past, Mr. Navarro, and I think your comment a couple years ago was there was too much information on the slide and we used.
But no, a subtotal would
changes.
be nice. I would like to know, did we increase students or did we decrease students? That's what I would just understand in all the programs. I mean, I can sit down and, try to figure this out myself, but would you say we increase or decrease?
For countywide
For the
ADA,
annual, for the annual versus last year's annual.
for countywide ADA, yes, we have, and with specific county-operated programs, we have decreased.
Oh,
Specific programs such as Community Day, Court Schools, and Special
was that
Education.
because community schools and districts took back some of their kids?
Could be on that basis as well, referrals.
And we have less incarcerated students?
That's correct, too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we do, we served that fewer students last year.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
Catch 22.
Yeah.
From our standpoint. And that's all I have at this point in time for the 11-12, unaudited actuals, unless there are further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. Excellent report.
Financially, we're still at all.
We're in good shape.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 8 is Open Space and Aeronautics Academy report regarding academic performance index scores.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board. First President Ritchie, Superintendent, and staff. We want to thank those of you who visited us this morning. Take the time out of your busy schedule. We hope you had a great time hanging out in kindergarten through 6th grade. This afternoon, as we've been requested to do, we have a data presentation to you. So I'm going to turn this over to our new principal, Mrs. Gerard, our new vice principal, who's a teacher who's picked up, Mrs. Feliciano, and my data guy, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for being there. It's very nice to have you. We have our vice principal, Ms. Pescado, and this is basically, okay, yeah, this is my first week as principal of Northern Academy, so I'm really excited to see the different programs that are put in place there, and I'm really looking forward to this year and looking into careful planning as to what we want to do to service the students better. So that's for right now, and like I mentioned, the presentation for coordinators for assessing the student achievement.
Hi, thank you. And I'll echo the sentiments of appreciate having you guys come out today and take a look at our program and be able to talk through a little bit of where the school's at and where we see ourselves in the next couple of years. Let me go right to our slide. I just want to say this is an estimate. As you know, the state won't release official API data and information until sometime in October. If we're lucky, it might come out towards the end of September. We use a data system called Data Director, and they have an API estimator within their system. I will say that last year they were within 3 points of our actual API, and so we feel that this is correct within plus or minus 3 points. If we look at our school-wide population, our API went from 650 last year to our estimation of 683 this year, which is a growth school-wide of 33 points. There's a chart showing a little bit of growth there. If we look at our subpopulations, our African American population, last year their API was 596, If we look at this year, 662 with a growth of 66 points. So we're very pleased with what we see in that subpopulation. Again, a graphic representation of that growth. Our Hispanic population last year was 630, up to 667 this year, which is plus 37 points. Again, right about what we did as a school. If we look at our white population last year, we were 796, and we stayed about the same as what we're predicting for this year. If we look at our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, they grew 38 points, so they are up from 599 to 637. Again, we're pleased with the growth that we're seeing with that subpopulation. Our English learner population is the group that we really are targeted and focused on. After reviewing our data, looking at our data, we can see that we are up 8 points with that population. We compare that with the plus 30 growth that we have seen. Certainly we are looking at putting some things in place for that particular subgroup. The next slide, I'll let Ms. Gerard address some of the things that we specifically are planning for this year and future years to look at that population.
Yeah, this is where some of my experience in the classroom and as another school district comes into place, looking into schools that have had the similar demographics and come up to have high achievement. These are some of the things that we want to put in place this year to specifically target the English language learners. The first one is to analyze the self data and group students by proficiency level. And we have already given this information to the teachers, and we have shared with them the data to be able to group them into their proficiency level of instruction. Within that, we're identifying trends in each proficiency level to see the common area in which they need to be specifically instructed in to be able to turn to the next level. We have the group of students by proficiency level for the English language development instruction. And we're adopting an ongoing language acquisition assessment tool to monitor student progress throughout the school year. So this is something that we want the communication to be going between the teachers, to the administrators, to the parents, and something that is ongoing. We're looking at 6 to 8 weeks monitoring the students' progress to be able to make sure that they're making the progress that needs to be, that they need to make. Then we're looking into providing an after-school ELD intervention program to supplement our core instruction for those ELD students that need additional resource of time, using Title I and Title III funds. We busted the position. We're hoping to have an instructional aid that would help us with the coordination of that program. So that would help us as administrators be able to address the issues that they come up, and having another person support the teachers with coaching, with coordinating other groups, and to also analyze the data and be able to make sure that we are looking at it constantly to provide the students with the services that they need what they need. And provide self-testing during the month of July 2013, so we can provide teachers with the students' proficiency levels at the beginning of the school year. That's something that some schools have done in the past, where they already have, especially for the kindergarten and first graders and kindergartens, there's no information to base on how to group it, how to address their needs. So if we move forward to have the self-testing before, during the summer, then all that information will be ready for the teachers at the beginning of the year, so to avoid wasting time facing next levels. And we're also looking into adopting a curriculum for the English language development. We look at Breach that comes
that gonna look like, what's that gonna look like? Intervention, just what it says basically, huh?
Yeah, we're really going to be looking at the data and analyzing where the students need the help and placing them in those groups to really bring it to the next level. So we're really looking closely into that data and what's to guide the instruction. So
How
that's
are you gonna make sure that kids won't come? It's not gonna be required, right?
most of the times the parents, especially if the students are not, performing at higher levels, they do want their kids to come in and to be there. So I don't foresee that to be an
It
issue.
has to be a little time, right? In order for otherwise.
Just 1 more hour, so they can make it.
Yeah.
I just have a strong recommendation on the after-school program that uses credentialed teachers and not an aide. So that's just my recommendation.
And actually, I think we're,
Well, that's how I just,
we're very lucky, we're very lucky in the sense that a lot of certificated teachers have been displaced with their jobs. That's not lucky for them. But we're looking to hire somebody.
thank you.
How much of the instructional day do students receive the ELD? The day of instructional day?
Oh, it's the half an hour a day.
Half an hour a day.
That's the English language development.
Regardless of what level they all, what are the different levels
Well-
of proficiency with the CELT?
Currently, there's 5.
There's
So
5
there's
levels.
beginner, early intermediate, early advanced, and math. So, and those,
Somewhat
we
advanced.
have looked at their set levels, and teachers are also encouraged to, use their professional judgment as to how you read the students and figure out where they're at. So that's why we have the language acquisition assessment tool. That's something that's ongoing to also guide that instruction. So if a teacher perceives a student, or if the data shows that a student is moving along, then it could be moved to a different group. So those are flexible groups to address their needs to them.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm a know-it-all, but I understand the feds require now an ELD, and I'll look into that.
Per day, okay.
Thank you.
And I think this instructional minutes per week, so.
And I'll just echo that all of the teachers at Norton are GLAD trained and use the GLAD strategies. And so throughout their instruction, throughout the day, they are getting English language development support through their curriculum and through those strategies. That's something we need to pay attention to.
Flash flood warning.
Yes, sorry, flash flood warning.
Repeat that again, I didn't hear you. That noise.
All of the teachers at Norton are GLAD trained, so those are English language development strategies. And so throughout the day, those teachers use those strategies as they're teaching reading and writing
And they're B-clad,
and math.
B-clad or clad?
They're B-clad?
B-clad,
Correct.
You say clad, that's what.
The class is the guided language acquisition design.
Yeah, GLAD, GLAD.
Oh, okay. Wow. The strategy.
Those are strategies, correct, instructional strategies. And so what we're doing is adding that 30-minute grouping by level piece that hasn't been there in the past. They'll still continue to get those strategies throughout the day. This is looking at our English language CST scores. They are up this year and school-wide. So we're looking at an increase there. And we're looking at, in math, we did decline just a little bit. And so one of the areas that we're looking at for our after-school intervention is what specific population are we looking at to target with some math intervention. We have set aside Title I funds to Mr. Navarro specifically be able to hire some of our teachers that are currently on staff to continue to give direct instruction. So that our intervention program is not just a homework kind of situation, but we will actually be looking at specific benchmark data and then giving lessons that support where those students are at by grade level. So that's one of the specific things we want to do with our intervention program. This is the first year that our 5th grade took science, and so you can see that We had a wonderful increase at 5th grade. This is our trends. This would be our below basic, proficient, and advanced for 2010-11 compared to 2011-12. So you can see that our growth and the shape of where our students are at, we are moving more students over to the basic, proficient, and advanced areas. So that's a trend that we're continuing to look at and move forward with. The last area I want to talk about is our AMAOs, and that is specific to our English language learners. And AMA 01 is the percent of students that are making progress for our English language learners, and then AMA 2 is broken into two pieces. One is English language learners that have been in the program less than 5 years, and those that have been in 5 years. So if we look at that data, this is a 2-year comparison. We went from 36.9% on AMA 01 up to 49.7%. So our English language learners are moving, just not at the percent that we would like to see, in the pace that we would like to see. When we break it down by less than 5 years compared to 5 years, we went from 9% to 19.6% of those students moved or grew a proficiency level. And then this is the first year that we have had students that are plus 5 years. And those are the students that came to us already identified. Since we've only been open 5 years, they probably were already English learners when they came to our system. We look forward to bringing back to you information when the state releases our official API and AYP data. And so we'd be happy to do an additional report, provide additional information when the official results come out. Can I answer any questions?
I was just asking our board secretary earlier if I could just get a report with a larger type of I don't have to use any glasses.
Absolutely.
I'd like to thank the team. We very much enjoyed our meeting this morning and are pleased with the report that you've been able to give us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you will tell the students, they're beautiful. Beautiful kids. They really are. They're wonderful looking students.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there is no objection, I'd like to go back to number 6 briefly and have a matter brought by a citizen, Doreen Ramsey. Is there objection? None appearing. Ms. Ramsey?
I just wanted to address the board and kind of give you an update on how the Teachers Association and teachers and staff and kids are doing after starting school in 107-degree weather on the 2nd for some of us. I'm not real pleased about that, but I know you have no control over that. Although I would be very curious to see what the electric bills are for some of these districts that started now in August as opposed to going through June. That makes it's making it very difficult for staff, and I anticipate that we'll have fewer teachers working extended year, because now if you work extended year, you have a couple weeks perhaps at the end of June, but you're winding down and you're in your classroom doing this, and then with extended year, you're back to work then, and then you have a few weeks before you're back to work. And it's people have been kind of shell-shocked in terms of, did I have vacation? They asked how was your summer? I don't know, how was it? I don't know. Did I have one? So I expect that will affect us, and that will affect students because they don't have the continuity program over the summer. But I think for the most part, coming back this year, everybody's anxiety level was particularly elevated, just not, I call it the PS era, post-Sharon. Without Sharon Burla around, we were all in a little bit of dismay. We were very, very concerned about how are things going to go with the county. So there was a lot of anxiety, but I think throughout all the startup meetings and getting to talk to people, I just would like to tell the board how pleased the Teachers Association, and I know CSEA is, having Lisa Norman and Randy Elphick basically at our helm. And I can talk to them with assurance that we are in good hands and we will have the best people running the ship. And so I anticipate
with Dr. Thomas leading that cause that we'll continue certainly to have our fair share of bumps and bruises, I'm sure, but we couldn't be in better hands. And I feel like everybody out there really feels that way. And that helps when you're out there serving increased numbers, increased severity of students. The job continues to be harder with less support. But there's something about not having to worry about, will I even have this job? Because we know we are being taken care of and in good hands in terms of our representation to the districts and to everybody out there from county schools. So, it's well underway. Some districts, some she knows is the first week of real kids for some, while others are a month in, which makes it very interesting. Makes it a little harder. We never get to meet again anymore. We never get to have startup meetings where you get to see everybody in your region. You get to say hi, you get to remember what we all look like and how many of you there are. Now it's just little pockets all over the county, and that's hard. That's hard for us because we've always felt very strongly as a family we're doing this together, and we rarely get a chance to see that side of the family anymore. But be that as it may, the principals, I think, continue to do a yeoman's job out there bringing their staffs together and trying to keep that collegial atmosphere and stuff going in all of our classes. And we look forward to as many of you getting out and visiting because they like that a lot. We want you to see what all of the things that are going on in the classes. It's amazing, amazing stuff. And we're looking forward to a very good year. So we just wanted to officially welcome Lisa and Randy to these school board meetings, and knowing that that's another part of what you all do in terms of leadership. So thank you.
Thank you. And you remind me, I have been remiss in not welcoming Randy and Lisa to our board meetings. Randy has already been here a month, but Lisa, it's nice to have you with us, and Randy, thank you for coming back.
You have another card.
I think this is for later. Is that for later on? Okay. Okay, then we'll move on to number 9, Smarter Balance Assessment for New Common Core State Standards. Dr. Higbee.
No, just look at the questions. This is going to take a little while, Crystal, before it warms up, because we all have a copy that we can look at. Why don't we go ahead and start with the copy? It's this thick bruiser that you have before you. It's got a blue band down the side. And Mrs. Harrison had asked for a presentation, a well-timed request for a presentation about what some of the questions are going to be looking like on our upcoming assessment that the kids will be taking, students will be taking in 14-15. And the questions that are raised with the teachers and with the curriculum in advance of that and the materials in terms of, so what do we need to do to support the students with this? That was quick. Thank you. All right, so the Smarter Balanced Assessments, as you know, as you've heard, go well beyond the multiple choice questions and include extended response technology, performance tasks, and that are focused on developing critical thinking and problem solving skills. They are designed in the test. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if that's me doing this wrong.
I think it's me.
It's within the test. They're designed to be able to accommodate a number of different kinds of students and student abilities, so that we have. Let's see, ensure accessibility and providing accommodations for students is a key design principle of this, of what Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, or SBAC, as it's called, which has been adopted by about 43 states. Those are characteristics of what they're trying to do. These are mirrored, and I think we talked earlier about the PARC group, which is the other large multi-state group, which is preparing assessments. Anyway, our group in particular has a technical advisory committee, an English language arts committee, and a special education group that are focusing on making this test accessible, and preparing to provide accommodations that will occur even during the test, so that you may provide the test at the same time and with appropriate circumstances. We'll see if the ability to provide appropriate accommodations is pulled off successfully. This is one of the first times this has been done on such a large scale, but they're very confident that their technology to do that is capable of doing this. So at this point, the big question is, how are we to get from our Common Core standards specifying K-12 expectations to all students, and this is the goal of the new standards, leaving high school and entering college or entering a program to become career ready or well on their way to being career ready, and how do we develop a system that actually measures that? And that's, there's a funny cartoon I saw about a job interview where the interviewer says, so how are you prepared to do this job? And the young interviewee in his mind is thinking of a multiple choice bubble test and saying, well, I'm not sure. Because that's, you know, they like the test, they like the job, but they have no idea if they're really ready to do the job. So the different types of questions or responses that the kids will need to do on this test are as follows. There is the selected response, which it can be a multiple choice type test, assessment items where students select from a given set of responses. There is the constructed response, and this is extended, where the students put together responses rather than selecting from a list. So they have to actually combine data and come up with an original answer, and then it's scored based on how they did it and what kinds of responses they have. There are performance tasks where students perform a skill or create an actual product using multiple resources. And then there are what they call technology enhanced or technology enabled items. And that's where the students need to use aspects of technology such as radio buttons or pull down menus or highlighting using the programs on the computer. So they are indeed needing to be ready for the 21st century, but also many of the jobs that are out there today. So depth of knowledge and alignment. One of the kind of overall rubrics that is being used to help with the development of items and to guide teachers as they think about how they need to shift their instruction is called the DOK, or the depth of knowledge alignment. We're going to take a look at that. Many of you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, where you went for beginning knowledge and understanding, all the way up through application and evaluation and synthesis and analysis. This is very similar to that. It's been somewhat updated. Bloom and team updated this several years ago, so that what you have here are phrases that are used now, or words that are used now. Remember, understand, apply, again, use your knowledge in an alternative situation, analyze where multiple aspects are involved, evaluate, make judgments, and then create. And then the levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 across the top are similar to that. With these are depth of knowledge, and this is what you would measure when you're looking at how the children did on these different kinds of tasks. You look at the level of recall and reproduction that the student was able to do, basic skills and concepts the student was able to apply, strategic thinking and reasoning that was used in the test, or used in their answers, and then their ability to extend their thinking. Now, Mr. Navarro, you may say that this needs to be bigger. I don't know how it looks for you.
Oh, it looks great.
I'll be glad to make it bigger, but this is as close as we could get on this page. But you can see examples here where it does indeed go far beyond even a well-parsed multiple choice kind of question, especially where the students have to create drawing multiple resources. So let's take a look at selective responses. These are you'll start to get into the world of acronyms here, but in English language arts, the selected response items, the students respond to a stimulus, they respond to a problem. Easier way to call it that. These items, though, may take 1 to 3 minutes for the younger grades, and 4 through 11, 1 to 2 minutes per item for a selected response. Mathematics, the children have a series of options from which to choose a correct response. Again, this is probably as similar as we will see. Now, examples of selected responses. On this slide, I kept the stimulus for you, which is basically the problem. So you'd see a problem with with blocks for visualizing a mathematics problem. The STEM is down there for numbers 1A through 1D. Choose yes or no to show whether the value is equivalent to the number represented by the place value blocks. And then the students have to come up not with just one right answer. And you know how you do it when you have multiple choice and you're, well, let's knock this one out, now let's knock this one out. It's got to be one of these two. In this case, the students go through and they may indeed find that there are more than one right answer. And they have to have the facility to figure out what equivalencies are in a case like that. In these sample items, you will see attributes or accessibility issues that they have first identified. They will go much farther than that in terms of accessibility issues with these problems. Okay, you'll see that it says DOK2, so that's really an application of skills and concepts, or use of skills and concepts for the students. Over here on the side, there is a scoring rubric. The students would receive 2 points, and there's a requirement for 4 responses. So that's how the samples are set up these days. Those are the kinds of things that when teachers go to the SBAC, the Smarter Balance website, these are the kinds of problems they will see there when they're looking at how they want to approach teaching their students this year. Now they're still using, we'll get into this, but they're still using old textbooks, and one of their issues is how do we find problems that will help move their students closer to being able to answer questions like this. Some of the activities that they're doing these days are going to the back chapters beyond the even and odd answered questions, and looking for the additional. If you have more time, do another kind of question, and you'll get to some of these. Also, bridge materials are emerging. They're coming out this fall. They will be approved by the State Board of Ed, and they are designed specifically to help teachers transition students into different kinds of problems. Okay, so selected response. Same kind of issue again. Again, it's at a level 2 where they are applying their knowledge of positive and negative numbers and the relationship to that of 0, and it shows a scoring structure. And so the teachers have an opportunity to see this.
I appreciate, and I wanted to point out, the last problem that we saw was a 4th grade problem. Now this is a 7th grade problem.
Thank you, Mrs. Harrison.
Yeah.
Yes,
and now I guess we're going to see an 11th grade problem.
Well, we're going along that way, yes. Yeah. Okay, we're going to ELA first.
Okay.
All right. So in English language arts, again, you'll see the stimulus. The students will have a text, and then the question they have. This is a 3rd grade item. That's a very good point. This is a 3rd grade item. Which sentence from the story tells Fox the lion wants to hurt him? That's more challenging than often these questions are, because it requires some inference. It's not directly a literal response. If you go through, there are actually a number of things that would make Fox worried. There's not just one. And so the answer for this is not so straightforward as you would think. Okay, now here's a 10th grade selected response. And so you have a passage here from not a narrative, or not descriptive text, but from informational text. Okay? One of the most significant themes in President Kennedy's speech is the importance of international collaboration. click on the highlighted portions of the speech that directly support this conclusion. So I would say, to me, this is not only one where the students have to do a selected response, but it's also one where it's a technology-enhanced response, where the students have to do highlighting and understand the use of the technology as well. Okay, constructive responses. This is where they have to put together single words, phrases, sentences, or a set of numbers. These can take as long as 10 minutes to complete. Here we have English language arts, constructive response. Again, you read a story in a few sentences. Explain what lessons the readers can learn from the shepherd's boy. Use details from the story to support the response.
In the 4th grade.
In the 4th grade. In the 4th grade. Okay, let's take a look at the 7th grade one. Stimulus. Okay, this is from a novel written by Jamaica Kincaid. And this is about a girl entering, I believe, a new school and looking out at the feelings she has at that time. Summarize in your own words the way Annie John feels during her first morning at school. Support your answer with details from the passage. And again, you'll notice this is at DOK 2. So this is a relatively easy, simple in terms of what's being presented to the students for 7th grade. And this is fairly standard for what they're receiving now. Okay, here is a mathematics constructive response. Now you'll see that Shelby is trying to put together a platform, and each board is to be shaped like a prism. It's supposed to be a certain height and width. To build the platform, he has to place the boards side by side, as shown in the diagram. And Shelby has to figure out what is the least number of boards with the I at the end. It could be a he or a she. Shelby needs to build the platform. Okay? That's a DOK 2. That's 5th grade. Challenging. Okay. Here's a high school mathematics selected response. And this is where the students need to figure out the results that they received from a survey. So they're given the survey, and then they have to make some considerations based on that. The newspaper reporter will randomly select a grade 11 student from the survey to interview. What is the probability that the student selected is opposed to lengthening the school day? So the students need to be able to manipulate the material in the graph so that they can figure out percentages for that. And then the next question is the same kind of response required for the student. Okay, technology enhanced. Items will take advantage of a drag and drop, hotspot, drawing, graphing, gridded response items, and simulation technologies. This, of course, gets us to the issue of you've got to have equipment good enough, you've got to have bandwidth wide enough so that kids will have access to the materials they need to respond, and you need to have the materials. On this one, they need to be able to manipulate the potential answers below up onto the graph, as you will see there, DOK 2 again. Here's 7th grade mathematics. The students need to be able to move the numbers into the boxes so that they're able to show square roots and answer the questions that are down below there. Okay, that's 7th grade, as we said. Now here's 6th grade English language arts. They need to be able to replace the highlighted term with appropriate words using a drop-down menu. 11th grade technology enhanced. There's the stimulus text. The requirement prompt is over here. For each claim, click on one sentence from the passage and drag it to the appropriate location on the chart. So they need to interpret what was said over here, drag it over into textual evidence. History teachers and science teachers would love this. It's very hard for them to get the kids to do textual evidence to provide that in their essays. So in each of these cases, we've got new and challenging material. The last of these is performance tasks. ELA students will produce either a full written text or present a speech. You'll see in grades 3 through 8, 105 minutes. This could take over 2 to 3 days. Mathematics, integrate knowledge and skills to formulate a problem, create model, evaluate data, interpret results. Again, when you're looking at high school periods, 120 minutes or possibly 3 periods of class meeting time. In these materials, the students have directions from the beginning. They're provided statements about Johnny Appleseed and about the heroic principles, and then they need to talk about what heroism is and how they get a chance to look at how the essay will be scored. They look at other sources that are not here about Paul Bunyan. And this one, I'm sorry, I was going through these earlier. This one asks them to write a tall tale that demonstrates what heroism is.
Third grade.
Yeah, third grade. I think about my assignments related to Johnny Appleseed. You know. Let's go outside and plant a tree. Yes, they work very much like that. Ninth grade ELA performance task. It's similar in nature, where the students examine different opinions that they've seen expressed in reading. They look at both descriptive and narrative material. They look at virtual high school interviews. They have opportunities to put their notes together, to plan a draft and develop and revise an essay. Then they go on to write, not only put their materials together, but then write an argumentative essay. This is one of the most challenging essays that students are asked to write. They find it one of the most difficult, and this is at the ninth grade. They're just blossoming with this one when they get into do the decathlon and some of the materials that you see with older kids. Okay, math performance tasks. Sorry if I'm looking back and forth a little bit. I realize that my eyes can't see that, and so I'm looking up here, but I think I'll look here, so I won't be looking away from you too much. Okay, so here they're given a scenario where the kids have to work, they understand about a school festival, they need to plan one. So they have a budget, they have spending categories in which they can work, they know what kinds of foods they can provide there, how much things can cost, and then they need to set up a schedule for the event, and then they need to give boxes of prizes, and so they need to figure out how much each of those are going to cost. And they need to label each of the costs for those things. So it's like doing a class project, but you're figuring it out all at one time. So there's plenty for them to go on there. And you'll see this is DOK4. This is extended thinking. This is toward the far end of the spectrum, but that is a 5th grade assignment. All right, then we have the 11th grade one. The diagram on the first one, the finishing off of the basement, that one really impressed me. This is where they're having to look at how the basement must be extended, what kinds of costs that will be involved. They look at the diagrams, they have to figure out the flooring, what's needed, if they want to add a bathroom, and then they need to think about home expenses, tax deductions, etc. So strategic thinking and reasoning. I need to do this right about now with my kitchen, which we're trying to fix up at home. So this is DOK3. As you can see, the point total is very high on this one. So we have perseverance as an issue. And I think what you'll notice when you look at, when you have looked at, I know, but you'll see particularly in the mathematics standards that persistence is a habit of mind that teachers are being asked to pursue with students at this time. So they'll persevere in a question like this. Can I answer any questions for you? Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Scary.
It is really.
Lot to be done. Lot to be done. Our team put this together. There are a lot of resources up there. This is the work from the District Improvement and Innovation Department. We are presenting on these a lot with administrators, with teachers, and having them increasingly practice talking about what they would see in the classroom in the first stages of this, what kinds of professional development they need, what kinds of materials they need that will support them.
I want to particularly say thank you, since I asked for this presentation. But I do think the board will now understand that the world has changed. And we can't just get ready for this in 1 year. So it's very important that teachers begin looking at what kinds of strategies they need to employ in order to get to this.
So right.
And it's going to be a new world, and we're vastly, when you think about, did we advance on an API? We're light years away from that.
Thank you.
I was going to ask Chris
Yes.
if I can PowerPoint.
So thank you very much. That was a good presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Very well.
Thank you for scaring us all to death.
Well, I think it's important that we understand
Yes,
what's going to
absolutely.
happen.
Absolutely. Okay, it's time for our 2:30. What is it? The expulsion hearing. I'm going to call about a 3-minute break. Are you ready for the? I haven't seen anybody come in for a while. Okay. Well, let's go ahead then with the agenda. No, let's go ahead and continue with the agenda until people get in here. We'll take them a few minutes to set up anyway, and we'll take a break at that point. All right, number 10 then is the consent calendar. Do I have a motion for second? Moved and seconded moved by Mr. Sumter, seconded by Ms. Harrison to accept the consent, to approve the consent calendar. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. On action items, received a charter petition appeal by Neighborhood Arts and Sciences Academy. And first of all, I'd like to thank whoever changed the timeline. I think this was...
That was the board.
We did adopt it. Okay, when we adopted it, thank me for us. No, this is very helpful to have that a full month ahead of time. And we do have a speaker, and it's one of the people responsible for the charter appeal, Tony Fair. Okay.
Thank you for having us. I'd like to introduce my colleague and I. This is Ellen Krogman, and I'm Tony Herr, and we're the lead petitioners for Neighborhood Arts and Sciences Academy. We both have many years in education. Ellen's in her 25th year at Chino Valley Unified. She's served as a teacher and a site administrator, assistant principal, and principal. This is my 30th year in education, 24th year in Chino Valley Unified. In the Chino Valley, I served as a teacher, program specialist, working with McKinney-Vento Homeless Program, the after-school program, grant writing, as an assistant principal, the VITA coordinator, and a principal. For about a year and a half now, Ellen and I have worked researching 21st century learning, Common Core, thinking curriculum, habits of mind, charter school, how to write a charter school petition. And we gathered a development team, we planned and wrote this charter petition. It's been denied twice at Chino Valley, and we believe that you will read the petition and find that it's sound, complete, and that it's cutting edge and ready for approval. So we're thrilled at the proposition of working with you, and I want to read to you our vision. The vision of Neighborhood Arts and Sciences Academy is to provide students with a comprehensive educational program that prepares and motivates them to further their learning at the university level. Our students will cultivate the skills and knowledge necessary to prosper in the global community, all the while understanding, appreciating, and accepting the rights and responsibilities that accompany living in a democratic society. We've chosen the name Neighborhood Arts and Sciences Academy to reflect our collective belief that the public school, a uniquely American concept, provides equal learning opportunities to all children who enroll, regardless of who they are or from where they come. We also believe that all children have the right to an education that encompasses instruction across a wide variety of intrinsically valued subjects. Along with a broad base of knowledge, a comprehensive education provides children with experiences and opportunities to find meaningful connections and relationships between subjects and concepts. Most importantly, it provides children with a secure foundation upon which to build higher levels of learning. The understanding that learning is never complete, and a passionate desire to make discoveries about themselves and the world around them. So that's what we have before you, and we're interested in coming back and working with you the next couple of board meetings.
like to especially encourage you to read very carefully the section on the thinking curriculum. It is the foundational pedagogy for our school, and it dovetails beautifully with the Common Core state standards. And we believe strongly it's going to help prepare kids for what is expected of them in the future and how they'll be assessed. So we heard the term parents of my investors fully explained in the charter. So we think you'll find that very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the Nassau Charter School Petition Appeal. Moved by Mr. Navarro. Second by Mr. Sumter to acknowledge receipt. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0.
So
And-
the next board meeting then will be the public hearing.
Yes, at the next board meeting will be the presentation and public hearing, and then we vote at the following in November. Right.
You have a time.
Yeah, there's a time. Okay. Whenever you're ready. Whenever we're ready. Okay. We'll take about a 3 to 5 minute break to the board, and in the meantime, it can be said after later. And it is closed session.